Some of your favorite stores are quietly tracking your returns. Big retailers like TJ Maxx, Home Depot, and Best Buy have started flagging certain customers they consider problem returners. In this video, we'll dive into how these policies work, why they're being put in place, and what it could mean for your shopping habits and ability to return items to that store in the future. Here's the scoop. So we're going to get into this video today. It's from CNBC, how retailers like TJ Maxx and Home Depot quietly target problem returners. And me personally, I did not know this until I watched this video and I was blown away. I did not know they were really tracking returns like this. This is really eye-opening. We're not going to watch the full video. I'm just cutting to the chase of the most important part of the video, the meat and potatoes of the video. And definitely you're going to want to share this, share this, share this. This is very, very pertinent, especially coming up for the holiday season. So we're going to watch the video, pause it intermittently, and I'm going to give my feedback.
A 2018 report by the Wall Street Journal documented what was and still is a largely unspoken policy of big box retailers, tracking and profiling risky return behavior, even going as far as banning customers from returning at the store.
Hey there. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell for notifications. Now, let's get back to the scoop. So guys, they are actually banning people from returning items to the store. Yes, I know you probably didn't know this. They are actually banning certain people from returning items to the store, and we're going to get to how do you get to that level.
You seemingly have done nothing wrong because of their return score. But what's a return score? Who's keeping track, and what do they know about me? Let's use an example. Say I went into my local big box tech store and bought a laptop last year. I take it home and decide, this isn't for me. I'm going to return it. So I go back to the store and return the item within the proper time period. I have my receipt, it's in the original packaging. But this is a pretty expensive item, so I'm asked to show an ID. Hey, no big deal. I give them my ID and the card I made the purchase with. All good. I get my money back and leave the store. Fast forward to today. I go to buy a flat screen TV at that same big box store, but I get it home and it isn't the right size. You know what? I'm just going to order it online. So I go back to that big box store and return the TV within the proper time frame. I have my receipt, it's in the packaging, and wait, what do you mean I can't return it? I'm following company return policy, aren't I? I'm then handed a sheet that tells me I need to reach out to a third-party company to find out why my return was refused. Turns out this store has been sending my data out to a third-party loss prevention service.
So they just said a lot, guys. So basically, you return a laptop or some big purchase item, right? You return it after a year. They're like, okay, they've got your license and they've actually sent your license, all your information, your address, your phone number to a third-party source that's actually going to start putting you into a system where they're going to track all of your returns, because that's a big purchase item that you returned a year later and it just didn't make sense to the company. So then, okay, for an example, like they said, you bring in a TV that doesn't work and now they're denying you a return and they're telling you to call a third party because they don't want you cussing them out at Best Buy. So yes, this can happen. We're going to keep getting into it, but that's just the beginning.
Provider, and unbeknownst to me, this company has been building a profile on me for years. They have access to my name, address, phone number, ID number, even my loyalty account information. Basically any personal data I've handed over to this retailer. Now, this is all hypothetical, but loss prevention companies and this exact practice is very real. The most prominent being a company called the Retail Equation. According to the Retail Equation's website, it works with individual retailers to outline what the retailer deems as potentially fraudulent behavior. From there, the Retail Equation software tracks customer return behavior and assigns a score to returners who may exhibit potentially fraudulent behavior.
So the whole notion of a score, doesn't it remind you of like another country that's like a dictatorship, where it's like communist, doesn't that kind of remind you of that, right? The whole notion of a score, but we also have a credit score, right? So the score thing is very much a real thing in our society. So why wouldn't it be for something like this, right? But we would never think that they were actually tracking our returns, but they are. And they're actually sending it to a third party. So it's out of their hands so that when they give you that paper telling you that your return has been denied, they don't have to deal with you anymore. It's all on this company.
According to the retail equation, its software normally tracks factors such as frequency of the specific transaction types, transaction value, whether the customer has a receipt, and purchase history at that retailer.
So this is what they're tracking, guys. Their software, their third party company software. They're tracking the frequency of the specific transaction types. Okay, how often are you returning things? Transaction value, are you returning big things, big price items, or small price items? Whether the consumer has a receipt, are you returning with a receipt or not? If you're not, that looks like, you could have got it stolen somehow. And purchase history, okay, how much have you purchased and returned?
But what does that look like in practice? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, it could be a lot of things. Bringing back several returns in a short amount of time, returning a large portion of your purchase, maybe you forgot a receipt, returning an expensive item, returning a frequently stolen item, even returning an item close to closing time. These are just a few examples of things that could hurt your return score.
Whoever thought that, right, guys? Whoever thought that returning a item close to the store closing time could be seen as a red flag? This is crazy, right? It's just crazy, but now you know.
Meaning, in theory, even a shopper who is operating within the bounds of a return policy could get penalized. For some, they may never know they even had a score or that it was impacted. For others, this could look like a warning handed out at the return counter or being outright banned from returning at that retailer. According to customer complaints lodged with the Better Business Bureau, customers reported feeling blindsided by the return blocks at major U.S. retailers. Several complaints go as far as claiming the penalized behavior in the report was misreported, and they had no way of seeing it until after they were given a warning or their return was already blocked.
Of course, this is totally blindsided. Could you imagine if you're actually not a criminal and you're really returning things that you need to return? Maybe you just are a person who, was hit with bad luck and just got things that didn't work properly, or it didn't work, it was a lemon, it didn't work after a while, and you returned it, and all of a sudden now they're banning you, right, from ever returning something to Best Buy or TJ Maxx. How insane is that? I mean, of course they have an F. Of course people are pissed.
It's complaints like these that prompted several now dismissed class action lawsuits against the retail equation between 2020 and 2023.
So she says these lawsuits have been dismissed, okay?
Plaintiffs in each suit allege this software often gets information wrong and gives shoppers little recourse when it comes to accessing or correcting the data the retail equation collects.
So just to tell you guys, on here you can see on the left hand side it says Best Buy, um, Dick's Sporting Good. I saw on another one it said TJ Maxx, BG Retail. So it's a lot of stores, guys.
The lawsuit goes on to claim that this data is supplied to the retail equation without the knowledge or consent of consumers. The problem is these types of complaints are hard to back up. Often these policies are outlined where most of the fine print is buried.
I agree to the term and conditions. How many of us have clicked this and never read it? Hands up. All of us, I think, right? And so we've got to start really reading that because we don't really know what we're signing. And actually, a lot of these, they're sneaking in things like this, like arbitration. They're sneaking in the fact that they're going to send your information to a third party retailer that could be hacked. All your information, your address, your phone number, everything could be hacked, your driver's license. But they're sending it to you to track your returns. So we need to start always reading that box, that I agree to the term and conditions before we check it. We always need to read, and if we can't afford to read it or we don't have the time, we really probably just shouldn't check it. We should just do this later, right? But it takes diligence, but we have to do it because look at what they're sneaking into these terms and conditions that we never knew.
In retailers' terms of service or return policy.
It isn't something you can opt out of because if they have decided to outsource their return logistics to a third party, and you're agreeing to purchase from them in that purchase agreement, you're also implicitly opting into accepting the third party logistics provider for returns.
At the time of the Wall Street Journal report, the retail equation said it worked with 34,000 stores. The 2021 class action suit named several retailers as defendants, including Dick's Sporting Goods, Best Buy, and Advanced Auto Parts. Other retailers like Home Depot and TJ Maxx have also been identified as past users of the retail equation services. And this leads back to our bigger question. If retailers have been implementing these targeted policies for a while, Why implement broad policy changes now?
Now that interest rates have also risen, what you have is retailers thinking, look, there's a piece of cost here that isn't necessary.
Basically, it's a lot more expensive to be a retailer right now, meaning to turn a profit, they're having to tamp down on areas that have historically been money drains. According to the Retail Equation's own numbers, the U.S. retail industry lost over $101 billion to return fraud and abuse in 2023.
$101 billion, guys.
And that's not counting the cost of all the regular, non-fraudulent returns.
Most of the returns.
So between their fraudulent and non-fraudulent, 101 billion, and that's not even, like they said, that's not even including everything. That's a lot, and that's probably why they're doing this, but we should know this up front.
That come back, it could cost up to 40% of the retail or the original retail price to put that item back on the shelf, and there's no guarantee they can sell it for what they originally asked for it. So they're losing money on both ends.
So it says, in response to CNBC's request for comment, the Retail Equation stressed that all consumers have the right to request a copy of their retail activity report for a particular retailer by going to theretailequation.com. So guys, you can go to theretailequation.com and you can actually request a copy of your retail activity report and get your score. How crazy. But that's good that we know this, right? So now that you guys know this, what you're going to do, you're going to check that box after you read the terms and conditions. You're going to be aware that when you go to a store, actually, let's go back to this real quick, okay? You're going to be aware that when you go to a store, what are they tracking? They're going to be tracking how frequently you return items, how much the items are, what's the value, whether you have a receipt or not, right? How if you return the item super late, like right before the store closes, if you're returning an item that has been stolen a lot, they're also going to be tracking, your purchase history. So just be aware that you're being tracked. So if you return things a lot, you're probably going to be on this no return list, and they're not going to tell you. It's going to be one day you show up to TJ Maxx or Best Buy or Advanced Auto Parts or any of the 34,000 stores that the Retail Equation is working with, and other third-party organizations like the Retail Equation are working with, and they're just going to tell you out of nowhere, hey, you can't return this. So eat crap. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't even care. So just so you guys know, again, check the frequency of your transactions. Make sure that you don't look like, I guess, a criminal, because that's what they're basically saying. Hey, if you return things a lot, if they're of high value and you don't have a receipt, then you're a criminal, right? So we've got to be more on top of our stuff because they're tracking us, right? They're tracking everything that we do. And if it looks shady, then they're going to, think that we're shady. And we might not be. But I guess this is just where we're at in America, guys. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this video? Did you know that 34,000 stores are working with the Retail Equation, which is a third-party service provider that's tracking your returns? Did you know that you have a return score? Did you know this? Like, I never even knew this. I just think it's crazy. It does make sense, I guess, as the business owner, as the company owner. I get why these corporations are doing it, because they've got a bottom line, they've got stockholders, they got shareholders, they got, I understand this, right? But as the buyer, as the customer, I think it's shady. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.